Here in a Fox Business exclusive, Cushman Wakefield Chairman Bruce Mosler. Bruce, it's always great to speak to you.
Thank you for having me back.
A lot is happening in the property market in New York City, especially on the commercial side. What are you hearing in the industry right now about Zohran Mamdani?
Well, look, I think that business leaders like myself want to work with him. I think we want to educate him. I think we also want to remind him that the city's engine is born from real estate in particular and business writ large. It is very important to understand that some of the decisions that may be made are not held by him, but held by, in fact, the state. Secondly, I think we should come back to the most important issue facing New Yorkers writ large, not just corporate, if you will, citizens. But at the end of the day, crime is always number 1, 2, and 3 on the list. So having the right police commissioner empowered to make the decisions, the ultimate decisions, I think is a critical part of safe city, safe streets.
And that's something that obviously business leaders will bring up, that quality of life. It's something that we actually saw an improvement under current Mayor Eric Adams. At the same time, and we've heard President Trump say this, and it's true. I mean, if you look at a lot of this proposal he wants to make, he can't legally make them. He needs Albany. He needs the governor to do them. He can't do free buses. That's the MTA. The Rent Guidelines Board, those are independent positions. Former Governor Cuomo actually hit him on that debate stage last week. Now, at this point, there's this new survey by JL Partners, and this is a little disconcerting, that there are 765,000 New Yorkers that say they're going to flee under Zohran Mamdani. What does that do to the city? Well, that bears out.
If it bears out, obviously, it's not a great thing. But I really think I caution all of us to go slow. And at the end of the day, let's work with him and give him an opportunity to succeed. Most important to understand that New York has some, at the end of the day, variables that make it unique. We have the largest, deepest labor pool, probably most educated labor pool in the country, or amongst the most educated. It's the place you can scale. You cannot scale in a place like Florida. I have nothing against Florida. I love it. Like to go visit it, have a home there. But at the end of the day, let's be clear. If you want to scale a business, that's why businesses are in New York. That's why we're the financial capital of the world. That's why we're the tech capital of the world. And Bruce, we will be AI.
Bruce, what if you have an anti-business climate? And that is the fear from many business leaders, whether it's banking or it's real estate. I mean, I hear this from many, many leaders.
You know the infamous quote, "We have nothing to fear but fear itself." I simply caution us to wait, to work with him. There are a number of business leaders who want to do that, and then let's see what the decisions turn out to be. You said it before. It takes a village to make some of the decisions that he wants to make. They cannot be made alone. So I'm in the bucket of let's work with him, and let's see where we end up on these issues.
One of the things that we've seen championed under the current Mayor Eric Adams is office to residential conversions. Difficult, expensive, I understand, but that has been moving forward. Are you worried that that activity may be slowed down or thwarted in any way?
I think, if anything, the intention is to accelerate, all right, affordable housing, which we all know with a 1% vacancy, that to keep the workforce in New York as we want it to be, we have to build affordable housing. There's a lot, you pointed it out, and I will emphasize it. There's about 4.8 million square feet of conversions underway right now. Writ large, there probably will be double that, I think, before too long. That's a critical part of keeping this workforce in a city that at the end of the day they want to be.
And there were some ballot measures actually that did pass on a good side as far as the developers to kind of take some of the shackles off to build some more affordable housing. And that would help businesses.
I think you're making a more important point, and I want to cover it. We're coming from a very good place right now, all right? We are about to see ourselves eclipse the 10-year average in terms of demand. We're at 29 million feet year to date. All of last year was 32. 32 million square feet of demand last year was the best post-COVID, close to the 10-year average. This year will exceed that. That means that people are returning to work. So number one, we're about 80% occupied across the board. If you look at locations on or near transportation hubs, it's 90% occupancy. A building at 75% is fully occupied because of travel, sickness, working for the clients. We're in a really good place. This mayor has done a lot to spur development, the city of yes. We've seen redevelopment on the east side. The J.P. Morgan building is an example of that.
Beautiful building.
We're in a very gorgeous building.
Yeah.
And frankly, at the end of the day, we're in a very good place from where we are versus any other gateway cities we're going to touch upon.
Something else I have to bring up with you, and that is your work with our nation's veterans. And you have been a big proponent of hiring veterans at your companies, helping them get that, not a handout, a hand up. Let's talk about that a little bit, because I know that as we approach Veterans Day, that's something that you want to make sure that we remember, that we need to hire veterans. They make great employees. I've seen that myself.
Thank you very much. Yes, this is the fourth consecutive year. We'll see what happens in the rankings this year, that we have been a top 10 military employer. It is critical, in my opinion, to hire veterans because they come from one of the most diverse workforces in the world, but also they are highly educated. If you think about what we need to be successful in business today, collaborations is a critical component of that. These folks know how to collaborate. They also know how to innovate, and at the end of the day, they're pretty good under pressure. So their leadership skills are uniquely qualified to help build a culture in a business. They will improve your bottom line. We say hire veterans to improve your business, not for charitable purposes.
Absolutely, and that is why the unemployment rate is actually better for the veteran community
100%.
right now, because they do make better employees. And I love that you're right, under pressure. Bruce Mosler, it's always great to speak with you. Always a pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
I'm rooting for the sector.
So are we. Thank you.